Hi there, welcome back to Board Game Specialists. This is episode 33, and we are going to be talking about our top 9 dexterity games today. I'm Carla.
And I'm Melanie.
And before we do that, Melanie, what have you been playing lately?
Yeah, I got a few games in. With my stepkids, we played Thieves Market, which is, geez, I don't even remember where or how I got this game, but it's one of those games that kind of made it to my collection this past month anyways. And I'm trying to play my unplayed games because I'm like 28 of my collection is unplayed right now. It's like around 120 games that are, I know it's terrible. So I'm trying to play some of my unplayed games a little bit more. So Thieves Market was one of them. And it was interesting. So you have dice in the middle, and then there's cards on the top that'll do different things. So what you'll do is somebody will roll all the dice in the middle, and then you take turn taking what you want. And you take as many dice as you want, and you put them in front of you. And then the next person has the option of taking what they want from what's left in the middle, or taking the bundle that's in front of the other players. And if they take the bundle that's in front of the other players, then they take those dice, they have to return one to the middle, they re-roll that one, and then they take it. So when you're picking what you want, you're trying to make it not too attractive so that they don't come and grab what you got. And it could be gems, like there's a ruby and an emerald and a diamond, I believe, or it could be a pot of gold, or it could be another thing, and I can't remember what the other thing is right now, but so there's the different things. So, and then on the cards that's available, you have one that would be like, oh, okay, so this one will cost you a ruby and it will give you some points, or this one will cost a ruby and a diamond, but then it makes it so that you always have a ruby when it comes to, or you can change a ruby into a diamond or an emerald or a sapphire. Like it kind of allows you to control or mitigate the dice a little bit. So you do this, and then until everybody has a stack of dice in front of them. But so you can take from the middle, take from the other players until everybody gets one in front of them, and then that's what you got. And then the last player that goes in the middle, if he's the last person without dice, he just takes everything that's left. And then you spend your gems to purchase the cards, and then if you're not doing anything with it, you're like the pot of gold or the bag of gold kind of gets traded for gold coin that you can use in a later turn, and those gold coins will be able to be they'll be wild to purchase other cards, and so on. It's a really interesting game. I was super impressed with that one. Then last night, my sister came over and we ended up playing Secret Hitler, which is a game that my son had played at his friend's house and he had asked me for it. So we got Secret Hitler. And that was another one that was kind of neat. It's like a hidden identity role. So you're either on the liberal side or the fascist side, and then one of the fascist person is Hitler as well. And you don't know who that is, but they know who each other are. And then, so you're playing, and it's like you kind of going around saying, okay, I'm president the first time you select a chancellor, and then everybody votes on whether they're letting you go into government or not. And then if they do, then the president will take the top 3 policies, and it'll either be a fascist policies or it'll be a liberal policy. And there'll be 3 of them, so they'll discard one, pass it to the chancellor, they'll discard one, and then one gets put down. And if it's like a fascist policy, it's like, oh, okay, so maybe one of them is Hitler, or they're part of the fascist team, or that's all the cards there was, so you don't really know. And it'd be like, no, there wasn't any liberal options. I'm like, okay, are they telling the truth? Or so it's kind of like you're trying, and in the games like this, it's like Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. I trust nobody. It was like I must be the only liberal here, even though there's 2 other ones. I'm like, okay, well, I don't think Klee is it, and Patrick's suspicious. Ginny, I'm pretty sure Ginny's wrong. Like. So it's an interesting game. And then if you ever get to three fastest policies down, and then Hitler is voted in as the chancellor, then they win. If you get five liberal policies down, then the liberals win. But yeah, it's an interesting game. And then we played a quick game of Impact with where you just kind of throw the dice inside the middle of and you're collecting pairs that you kind of, anything that's kind of the same you get to pull out. If you roll blanks, those are discarded. And you're trying to keep dice in your hand. So if you roll and there's nothing, no pairs, and you have no more dice, you're eliminated. So we played that real quick. My sister got eliminated the first person eliminated in both the games we did. And then her friend was over, and he had never played Catan. And we're like, well, that won't do. You have to play Catan. So we set up the game of Catan, and it was great.
Right.
Exactly. It's just like, oh no, you got to do this one. And I mean, Catan is one of those classic games. I mean, honestly, it's a great resource set collecting game, and then it's a great game. For a lot of people, it's been overplayed, just because it tends to be the game that everybody starts with. But it's so neat. You roll the dice, depending on where you've built your buildings, you get to collect the resources that are touching those building if the dice roll comes up. And then the robber kind of moves around and kind of causes chaos all the time. And you build your roads. Like, it's a very neat game. I think most people now have played Catan, but if you haven't yet played Catan, you really should. So that's what we played. How about you, Carla? What did you play? Oh, actually, no, I forgot. We played Perseverance together.
Oh, yes.
You know what? I got to say, like, this is a fairly big game. And lots of miniatures. The theme is ridiculous, honestly. You're on a cruise ship. The cruise ship breaks down, so you're going onto this island and you're trying to become the leader by having the most following, which is like little Facebook thumbs up likes. and then the dinosaurs attack. It's like, where does the dinosaur fit in all this? Like, yeah, so the theme is silly, but I mean, it was interesting, kind of deciding where you're going to put your guys, and are you going to go and protect from the dinosaur? Or are you going to go and try to create your little huts? But if the dinosaur goes through, they could trample the huts, so you got to, like, it was interesting. I think for how, like, it didn't blow me away, and for how big and involved this game is, it probably wouldn't be my first choice to kind of go through all that setup every time for what it was. But it was interesting. It's just the theme is kind of like, okay, how did the dinosaurs fit in?
Yeah, no, it wasn't my cup of tea, I'll say. It's just not the types of games I like to play. Like, I understand the design was done well, and it's interesting, like you said, it's very interesting, but I don't know, my brain doesn't wrap around, or maybe I just don't, it doesn't interest me, like setting up camps to like protect your people, and then the dinosaurs walk in and they kill, and then you go back to here and have to, I don't know, for me it's just not for me.
Yeah,
but
I could see that.
Yeah. But I really wanted to like it because I don't like Cherry spent a lot of money on it. It was a big Kickstarter and it's a big campaign game kind of thing, but I really don't. I really hoped I was going to, that it was going to be this one time I would get into that kind of type of game, but I didn't.
Not quite.
Anyway, a couple other games we played that day. You came later, so we played Cooper Island, and this one I had bought used at FallCon, actually just off the used market, but met a guy there he brought it there for me. Now this is kind of it's a tableau builder, but you have this whole island, and you each have a peninsula on the island, and then you have these two boats that'll travel around the island in opposite ways. And what you're trying to do is build up your peninsula of like different types of land that you will grow food, or build settlements where you can raise, I'm not sure, you end up getting cloth on them. You can build up mountains to get stone or gold if you build them up high enough, and then there's also forests to get wood. And you're going to use all these things to build different things like income boats. You'll build different buildings and erect statues on them. And they each give you different types of points, but they also give you these helm points, which will move your boats around the peninsula. And those give you big points. But like each helm point, so each time you move a boat, you basically get an end game point. And it's a really low scoring game because you rarely get, I mean, I think our highest score was 30 in that game, which normally in Euro games, like, points are over the hundreds or whatever. But a lot of people complain about that, having these low scores, but that didn't bother me. I mean, you're still working hard and the scores are still very close. Like, I think we were all within 5 of each other. Like, it's not like it was all spread out, but it's very puzzly. It's such an interesting puzzle because you also have worker placement spots in the middle of the island, and that's what you'll use your workers for, to go and place one. And then it doesn't block anyone out. They can go on top of you, but then they have to pay you a resource or a coin. So it's neat that you can do anything you want, but underneath some of these spots, there's bonus actions, and only the first person who goes there will get it. You can also get more workers and get advanced workers that can go to these really juicy spots on the board, as opposed to your circle workers. You have squares and circles. It's a very neat puzzly game, and I had looked at it when it first came out. I think it was 2019, maybe 2020, and I'd heard some bad reviews on it, and so I never did purchase it, but I just kept looking, and finally I'm like, I just need to try this game. And it's not easily found, but it is on the used market sometimes, so I picked it up, and I'm so glad I did. It's a neat puzzle, and you can, I think there is a solo variant that you can print off cards, or you can even buy the cards. But and you play against his dog Cooper, which is what the whole game's named after, and you're trying to outsmart him and get more points, obviously. But it's such a fun Euro game for me. That was Cooper Island. And then another one we played was Dice Theme Park. Now, I had backed this on Kickstarter, and immediately I had backed it because of Dice Hospital. I assumed it was the same designer because it's, basically same theme only, or not the same theme, but like same type of game, but a different theme. And I love theme park games. So I backed this, and then after a while, I kind of had regretted it. I thought, I don't know if I want to back that. But I had added on a bunch of games that came, with add-ons that I was kind of more looking forward to. And then my friend Ashley was like, I'm going to late back or pre-order Dice Theme Park. I said, well, I'll just sell mine to you. She's like, are you sure? I said, yeah. I said, I really want to play it. I just didn't know if I need to own it. So she bought it off me before I even got it. And then
Do you regret that?
No, I don't. And she kept worrying that I was regretting doing that. I would never offer to do something if I was going to, regret it. It's just, and it was good. It was really good. Like, I still don't regret doing that because she owns it, so I can play it anytime.
But it's true,
but she was so wanting to own this game, so I'm like, yeah, you might as well. Like, I don't need to. If you have it, we can play it. But it's really fun. It has some similarities to Dice Hospital, but you will choose your dice off these little monorail, little gray monorails that she's going to paint and make. They're going to look so pretty. But you put them in your park, and then you move them around these tiles. You start with 4 tiles. They're like hexagon tiles, and they all are different like rides in your park. And so you'll move these dice around, and they come in 3 different colors, yellow, green, and blue. And you'll move them, and as soon as you move one, it flips down. So if you start off with a 6, it'll go down to a 4. And each tile has different requirements. Like, it might need an odd and even dice, and it might need an odd blue and an even green, or it might just need one that's greater than the other. So you just have to satisfy all these things. But it's very puzzly because you have to move these dice in a way that will satisfy those things to get the most points, because there's usually each tile will have a lightning bolt, and that means it can be activated once you can purchase more so that you can activate these tiles more than once. And then you have these mascots too that you can buy that will do all kinds of different things, give you more income because you need money to buy tiles and mascots and upgrades. And it's just so neat. This one for some reason took me like I think a whole round to kind of really figure out what I'm doing, what I need to buy, what's more important, money or this or that. But it's really fun. And we just played a 4-round game, but I look forward to playing this one again. Yeah, so let's get on with our top 9. What is your number 9 top dexterity game?
So, 9 dexterity game. I think I ended up with 13 or so on my list. It's not one that I play tons and tons of, right? But in my number 9 position, I have Pitch Car. We've done Melcon, Falcon, that personally, and my friend Duncan brings Pitch Car and sets it all up. And it's basically a track that's set up with these little rails. And you have this little wooden token that's your car. And you're racing around trying to do the lap as fast as you can with the least amount of movement. And you flick this little wooden disc just around the thing. And then there's some where you can get like loop-the-loops, or there's the jump that you need to go over. And I've attended a few events or cons where they had like quite the intricate setup, and then they had a jump that goes from one table to the other, and there's a small gap in between, and it's neat. It's and it's one that's kind of really well like it gets everybody kind of really excited into it, and they like have the people playing, you have the people watching and cheering for the cars, and it's hilarious. Now, Pitch Car was published in 1995, and it was created by Jean Dupoil. And yeah, it's just it's a fun one, like with the flicking. I gotta say, when I played and I'm flicking this, by the end of the race, like my flicking finger is quite sore. I don't know if there's a better technique, but but it was neat. So that's my number 9.
You need to train it.
Yeah, I was like, do little finger push-ups or something. So yeah, that's my number 9.
Get in flicking shape. This one has always interested me. I've seen it set up at a couple conventions, but when I went on the Dice Terror Cruise, they had announced they were going to have it set up the night before, where we all stayed in this hotel, and there'd be this big pitch car tournament. So I had kind of looked forward to just either maybe watching or trying it out. And so they had this all set up, and then somebody had already packed the cars onto the ship. So Tom was so mad. He's like, I set this whole thing up and there's no cars. So I didn't get to play it. I know somebody had it set up at Melcon, and I never did go over there and look. I should have. I think it would be fun.
They had it at Falcon as well.
Did they have it at Falcon too?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even see it. Well, my number 9 is a lawn game. Now, this one's called, it's pronounced Melku, but it's actually spelled Molkky.
Oh, okay.
Now, I love playing outdoor games as well. When we kind of get together outdoors or have like, barbecues or stuff, and people are kind of sitting around. If it's still light out, like I twiddle my thumbs. I need to be doing something. I'm one of those people who likes to I think that's why I like gaming, because it just stimulates me all the time. But if I'm outside, I want to be doing something. So my family will play a lot of outdoor games as well. And this one is kind of like I guess you could kind of compare it to like bowling, but what you do is you have these long sticks, and they all have numbers on the top, and you line them up, or you put them all together. They all have different numbers on them, and you'll take another stick and throw it at them and knock as many as you can down. And then however many you knock down, you get those points. But wherever you knock them down, you will sit them right back up. So they'll kind of be all scattered then. And then the next person is going to throw one, like a stick, and they will try to get the highest one. If there's like, they could try and get like a 12 or something. If they knock only one down, they get the number on the top of it. But as soon as they knock more than one, they only get to count how many they do.
Okay.
And then if you ever miss, you lose a turn. And then the whole point of it is you try to get to 50 points, but if you get over 50, then you go back down to 25. Sometimes we house rule
So you got to be 50 on the dot.
Yeah, because it could go on and on and on. But it's a fun game, and I love it. It's one of my outdoor games, and that's Milku.
That sounds interesting. I have never heard of this one before.
No, there's different versions, like, they're not versions, but similar games. There's Cube, and then there's Bones, where you're throwing they look like sticks as well, or they're actual bones, and then you're trying to control
actual bones.
Sides. Yeah, the bones is. My friend she's like, you gotta come play Bones, and she pulls out this pail of bones. I'm like, what? And this is like a Saskatchewan thing, I think. I don't know if it was made there, but you actually will throw bones at other bones.
What kind of bones are they? Like,
I don't know if they're like, I don't even know if they're cows or horses. Like, they don't kill them for these games. I think they're passed on animals. I sure hope so. But she was like, oh, I can get them made for you. It's hundreds of dollars. I'm like, no, you're like, I don't want to animal bones. They do make this game with like wood or things.
Oh my god, that's like hilarious.
But yeah, it's actually called Bones. They have this huge tournament in Saskatchewan where they have like all these like $300 prizes. Like, it's huge there. You've never heard of this?
No.
It's pretty neat. It's a neat game, but it's teams. You have 2 teams.
I mean, it sounds interesting. The game sounds interesting. The actual bones like sounds sadistic a little bit. But
yeah.
To be like, why do you have a pile of bones over here?
Yeah.
Oh, that's just a game. Don't worry about it.
They're big, thick ones, so I can't remember what they're from. But
oh, that's hilarious. Okay, okay, that's your number 9.
Milku is my number 9, but Bones is a similar.
As a version of it. Okay, right.
Not quite, yeah.
Oh my god! All right, my number 8 is Drop It. It was published in 2018. It was created by Bernard Locke and Hugh Ropp. And this one is almost like Connect 4, but there's no, like, you just have all these different shapes with these different colors, and you just have this kind of frame that you drop them into. It's not divided, but along the edges of the frame, there's different colors, and every time you drop a piece, you can score it as long as, like, the blue piece isn't touching another blue piece, or the edges where there's blue. So you're trying to avoid having the same color touch the same color. But there's like, it could be like a little circle or square or triangle or rectangle. Like, there are all these different shapes you drop in and then be like, okay, well, I'm going to aim for here, and darn it, it bounced and went over there and is touching the same color. Like, it's an interesting one in that way, where you're trying to kind of control a bit. So, okay, well, I'm going to rotate it this way, so hopefully it'll land on its flat side and then it'll stay there. It was interesting. I don't own this one. I bought it for my friend because she had younger kids as well. So I figured this would be one that would be fun for her to play with her husband, but also fun for her to play with her kids, right? And that is my number 8, Drop It.
I've played this once, and I don't even know who owns it, if it was Cherry. But it was really interesting. Like, because you think, oh, that just looks so easy. Bring it here, I'll try this out. And wow, this is not as easy as I thought. Yeah. I didn't do as well. All right, so my number 8 is Clask. Now, this one is a combination of like foosball, air hockey, and it's like a tabletop game, and it's a 1v1. You play. I think you can actually buy games where there's
a 4-player one.
Or,
yeah.
Oh, there is? Okay.
Yeah.
I've only seen
it's a circle one instead of a rectangle.
Oh, okay. I don't own this, but I played at a convention once, and I would really like to buy it. I've heard that even Canadian Tire sells it.
Yeah.
And
that's where I bought them.
To check. Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
You got it there. Did you get the 2-player or the 4-player?
Yeah, the 2-player.
Okay. So what you do is you have these little a little rod kind of that has a magnet on it, and you put it underneath and you slide it around, and you're trying to hit it's a little ball, right? That you're trying to get into the other person's little goal. But on the board there's also these little white cubes almost, and they're magnetic too, so you don't want to go near those, because if you go near them, they'll attach to the top of your rod, because the one underneath is controlling a rod on top. So, and then if you get two of those attached, they'll get a point. So you can't just go like back and forth willy-nilly out of the board. You have to kind of strategically avoid those things and try to get the little ball into theirs without getting it into yours, because if you do happen to do that, which it does happen, they'll get a point as well. And I think it goes up to, now I don't even know, is it 20 points?
No, I think it's like 8.
Oh, it's only 8.
8 or 10 maybe.
It was a long time ago that I played it. It was really neat, and I've kind of looked out for that one, but that's my number 8, Clask.
Well, my number 7 is also Clask. It's
really?
Published in 2014, created by Mikhail Bertelsen. And yeah, it's just a neat one. Like, put it on the table, it looks interesting. The fact that you control the things on the top from the bottom, and you can't go past halfway because underneath it's blocked. And trying to avoid those little white pebble things. My kids call them cancers. It's like, oh, you got a cancer on you. And then you can kind of try to hit the ball so that it'll hit one of those towards the other one. And now it's like you've got it kind of moving around your side. You're trying to avoid it. Like it's a interesting, quick, easy to get to the table. And it kind of appeals to the mass market, right? Like it's a neat one to get to the table and a neat one to play. And that's why it's my number 7, Clask.
Awesome. My number 7 is Dimension. This one is made in 2014 by Lori Lechow. Now this one there's a part of it that is dexterity, but it's also very puzzly. So you each have this board, and you have these 4 different colored balls. You have orange, white, black, and blue. Oh, you have green as well, so that's 5. There's 5 different colors of balls, and you have 3 of each color. And then you have these cards in front that you'll flip 6, I think, in a game, or in a round. And they each have a requirement on them. Like it'll say you can't put any orange on top of black. You can't have black touching green. You can't have no white. You have to have exactly 1 green, and it's all these things. So a lot of it is like mind puzzling, but you have to stack these balls, and so stacking them is the dexterity in it, because you have to think and like complete as many of those puzzles as you can, and a lot of times you can do them all, but you have to figure out how to do that, and it's timed, so you have, I think, 2 minutes or a minute and a half to do this. And so you'll stack them all, and then you're like, okay, I got it, and then you'll go through them all, and you're like, damn it, that one on the bottom, so you got to take them all off, and then you only have 10 seconds left, so you're rushing, and then all the balls will fly all over, and you've gotten 2 points. But what you're trying to do is get the whole thing, because then you get, I think there's 11 balls that you can get in like that you can set up at a time. So you'll get those points, and then you'll go through each goal and see what you've completed. And if you haven't, then you have to give back points, because you start with some. And then if you've completed them all, you get this one little chip that gives you a bunch of points at the end of the game. And I think you play 5 rounds. But it gets your blood pumping, because you know you're trying to race to do this. Well, not race, you have a time limit, but when you kind of look over and you see they've all got it, and you're like, I need to get more, and you know you're behind or you're ahead, then you can kind of relax a little bit. I don't know, did you play this with us once? With me and Cherry? I can't remember if it was you that was there. We tried it.
Don't recall. No.
You would remember this game. It's really fun, and it just looks like the box is a green box with these colored balls. Like, it doesn't look that interesting, but it's so fun, and it's a good one to play at the end of the night, even though your brain's fried. You have to do all this puzzly thinking, but just the stacking of it is neat. And that's my number 7, Dimension.
Nice. My number 6 is Buildsy, published in 2020 and is created by Karma Games. We actually played this at Malcon. I think it was Ashley's copy. And it has like all these colorful Tetris-y plastic pieces. And then we have a card that has like a pattern on it. And then you got to try it quickly as you can, stack your piece like it's on the picture before the other ones do. But like, it's not neatly, like sometimes it's angled. Okay, you start and it's like it kind of builds at an angle, so it was interesting. And just like kind of a speed game of putting this tower together was kind of neat. I think we played it a couple of times. We played that one in Crazy Tower. Now, Crazy Tower didn't quite make my top 9, but I like the Buildsy better. So that was my number 6, Buildsy.
Awesome. My number 6 is Frame It, or otherwise known as Rubik's Race. Okay. So this one, this is an old one. This was made in 1982 by Erno Rubik and Marvin A. Sebenitz. Now, this one is a game I've had since I was a kid. Well, I've repurchased it. It was Rubik's Race when I was a kid, and then when I found it again as an adult, I'm like, oh, that's the game! But it was called Frame It. So what it is, it's a 2-player game, and it's a cheap plastic board with a little stand in the middle that has an opening.
Oh, I've seen this.
What you have on your board is just colored squares. Just kind of, they look like what a Rubik's Cube, like those kind of colors. But there's, I can't remember now if there's 5, if it's a 5x5 or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But there's one blank spot, and you will slide these around. Now, you have this little shaker thing, and you'll shake it up, and you'll lay it down, and it'll show a pattern. And you just race to do the pattern. So you're just sliding these things all around trying to get this pattern. Well, I was like the champ of this game when I was a kid. Nobody could beat me, which is probably why I loved it. And I don't know why I was so good at it. It was like almost freakish. Like I could have went around to carnivals and probably done it because I was so good at it. But later on, then I found it as an adult, and I picked it up and I pulled it out and made my kids play it, and they couldn't beat me for the longest time. But then I think my daughter might have beat me once, and my niece, she's a total gamer at heart. I know she could totally become a gamer because she loves them. She's just a busy girl and doesn't have a lot of time for it, but she could beat me. She was the one and only. I think maybe Hannah, my daughter, did once or twice, but Bailey could beat me at this game. And other than that, I don't know that anybody else could. And I've pulled it out and made Cherry try it because she usually beats me at like stacking games and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm terrible at the stacking ones. Like the Dimension, I'm okay because there's still strategy in it, and it's not a whole lot of dexterity, but like the real stacking 3D polyomino ones, she's very good at. So this one, she hasn't been able to beat me yet, but I think she bought it. I'm like, oh, you're going to practice up, hey, and try and beat me at this. But it's such a cheap, like, kind of, I almost want to say piece of junk game. But it's fun, and it's just a race. All you're doing is racing to get that pattern, and then you flip. Once you do, you take that thing and flip it right on yours so you know that the game's over. You just have to make sure that you're right, because if you screwed up and you don't have the right pattern, well, then you lost the game. But that's my number 6, Frame It / Rubik's Race. Same game.
I've seen that, and I kind of like, okay, I don't know how that would play. Like and I didn't realize you had to slide the pieces. I thought you dropped them.
Yeah, it's just a slider.
So, but the sliding the piece, that makes it a lot more interesting. Mm-hmm. Huh.
And sometimes some of them, you'll go so fast, some of them will flip out of the board, and you're like, oh jeez, you gotta go grab it. Yeah. Or I'll catch people like just trying to take them out and put them in. I'm like, start sliding! Stop cheating over there! I'm gonna bring this to the next convention.
Yeah. Oh, you should. Honestly, that would be a great one for that type of event.
It would. Just stupid, silly games like that are just funny at conventions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
That's great. Now, my number 5 is Perplexus. This was created in 2001. It's created by Michael McGinnis. And this obviously was done by an engineer or architect or something. And it's so neat. So it's a clear ball, like a plastic ball that comes together, but inside there's a maze, like there's a 3D maze, and you start with like a metal ball in there, and you start at the one position and you go through. So like you go down the ramp, and then there's a few steps down this way, and then it slides around, and you're trying to make it through the maze without dropping this ball, but it's all 3D. So you're moving this ball around looking through, see what everything is. And we got the first one and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. So I actually have 4 Perplexus in my house, in different difficulty level. We have one that's like a Star Wars one where all of a sudden an X-Wing, you have like this little button at the end that X-Wing you can move it around and you go and you grab it and it grabs the ball with a magnet when you reach a certain point. And then this X-Wing will carry it to the next place and then it kind of drops it. And I've never beat that one. I've made it, I think, more than halfway, but like some of them is like, okay, and then like, because each section is numbered, so it's like if you reach 36 then you win, and then there's one is like if you reach 149 then you win, but like there is all these different segments you're going through trying to look through this wall. It's neat. It's such a neat puzzle game, and that's Perplexus, my number 5.
I've never heard of this game. Do you guys each have a ball and then compete to see who does it?
It's a solo thing, right? Yeah. So you just have the ball. You can keep track of of how far you've like, okay, I've reached 32. See if you can beat that. And then be like, you try, and it's like it's a puzzle. Like it's a 3D move that like the labyrinth box where you had the marble and you're trying to go.
Okay, yeah.
It's like that, but it's a 3D circle.
It's a ball.
And inside, and it's like I'll send you a picture after this. I'll take a picture of it because it's such a cool looking thing. And I have like 4 in my game room now. So they're just sitting there. And it's a neat kind of hands-on puzzle and you're trying to make it through. Yeah, it's fun.
Neat. Awesome. That was your number 5, right?
Yeah.
5.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. What did I miss here?
You just skip one?
Number 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Oh, no. I'm on my number 5 now. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, we're on your 5 now.
Yeah. My number 5 is tabletop shuffleboard / curling. So this is just a tabletop one that you can flip over and have one side be curling and the other side be shuffleboard. Now this game brings back a lot of childhood memories too, because my grandpa used to have the big old shuffleboard, which was like 3,000 pounds, like those big long
Huge,
ones that you would have like full of salt on top, and you'd have these little they're just like curling rocks, but they're smaller, and you slide them down and try to get them into the spot. And me and my brother and my cousins played hours and hours and hours of that game. Like, we would have to go and buy a whole thing of salt because we would use a can of salt, I think, in a weekend, because we just play so much. And I don't know what is so intriguing about it, but like, I'm not even a curler. I've never actually curled. I would actually like to try it. A lot of people did in school. We never got to try it in school, but it's so fun. And all you're doing is trying to get this rock into the bigger points. Like, there's little spots at the end where it has points, 3, 2, 1, or like kind of like a bullseye, and you want to get it closest to the middle, and you want to knock other people's out, and it's just so fun. So I bought this tabletop one that we play at Christmas now. Like, I usually will have a big day where we'll have a game night with the family, and like serious competition where we kind of have teams or whatever, and you will play tournaments in all these different games that we'll play, and some of them will be dexterity, so that for some of the people who aren't huge into strategy, we don't play hard strategy games at that night, but they love these type of games and they get into it, and it's just so fun. I love it. And that's tabletop shuffleboard curling.
Yeah, that's cool. I could see putting something up like that. Oh, that just reminded me. There's a few I didn't put on my list, but
I know there's so many.
Yeah, you kind of set one of those up on the tables, and people just gravitate to it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you have it out at a party, someone's gonna play it. Like, it doesn't matter.
Now, my number.
And I don't think anybody doesn't like it. Anyway.
No, exactly. Everybody does. It's just fun. All right, my number 4 is Click Clack Lumberjack. It also goes by the name like Tack Tack Jack, and I think it has a few different names out there. It was published in 2008, and it was created by Justin O. And this one is just hilarious. Like, honestly, to look at it, it looks like a kid's game, and it probably would be a great kid's game, but I've never played it with a kid. It's always been adults. And you have these little trunk bits, and you stack them all up to kind of create the tree, but then on the side, there's like on the fourth side, you put these little bark pieces that goes on. So when it's all put together, you got the 4 bark pieces around the trunk, and there's like these little discs that you all stack together. And you have this little plastic axe, and you get 2 hits on your turn. So when you want to hit soft enough that you don't send everything flying, but you want to hit hard enough so that the disc shift enough that the bark falls off. And because the bark, each piece of bark is worth 1 point, but if you accidentally knock off the trunk piece, those are worth -5 points. So you don't want to accidentally knock off the trunk, just the bark off the side. And you're knocking on the side, and then you knocked in different ways because it's starting to lean, and I'm like, I'm going to go back and start hitting it the other way. And then some of the bark pieces have little grub stickers on it. And you have like on the inside of it, you'll see there's just a little grub bug on it. And then that allows you an extra hit. And it's such a neat kind of funny game to play, and you're just there with the axe trying to knock the bark off, and then be like, hey, I'm going to go now. It's really leaning, and the next player's turn, it's like, good luck. It's hilarious. It's one that I enjoy playing quite a bit, and that's my number 4, Click Clack Lumberjack.
Yeah, you taught us this at Melcon. I was terrible at this game because I would like hit it and then it wouldn't do anything. So then I hit it harder and then everything went flying. I'm like, oh, so I have -80 points? And then we would set it back up, and I got a little bit better at it, but I was always the one with like the ridiculous amount of the worst point.
You don't know your own strength.
No, I'm not very gentle. You would not want me operating on you. That is 100%. Because when it comes to like fine dexterity, like I can't even stand sewing. I can't stand knitting and stuff. No, any of that little fine thing. I'm like, nope, I'm out. I'm totally out.
That's funny.
Yeah, no, I'm terrible at that. I need to do stuff where I have more, I can move around a bit and toss things or throw things or kick things. But no, these little fine things I'm not very good at. But saying that, my number 4 is Sonora. Now, this is made in 2020 by Rob Newton. This is a flick and write, the first flick and write that was made.
Oh, right.
So, flicking games, I guess they're not very fine dexterity, so they're fine for me. But this one is still tricky. You have this box. It's actually the game box that you use, the bottom, and then it has the player board or the main board in it. And what it has is these 4 sections, and you are just flicking you'll have a bunch of little discs, and you flick it into an area where you're trying to get. And each of the 4 areas is like, it's also a roll and write. So it's a flick and write, but you're writing on a little piece of paper. So if I get it in this one area, depending on the number, that's the strength I have to write onto my section of my player board. And then there's also the middle. If you can actually get your disc to stick in the middle, you can choose anywhere you want to go. So it's kind of neat that way. But you're also kind of knocking people off. If you look, oh, she really wants to go over to that fox section or whatever, get a fox. And so then you will try to knock hers off. And half the time you flick it so hard that it goes off the board, and then it's nil. You don't even get to use that one. So you do have to be a little bit gentle, and you can't just go crazy flicking everything around because it'll jump off the board. But it's quite neat because the roll and write part of it, like the player board, is quite thinky too, because it's one of those games where you don't want to do a little bit of everything because you're not really going to get anywhere. You kind of have to focus on some areas, but then you got to really try and flick in those areas and not get flicked out. So it's interesting. We've played it, I think, a handful of times, but we got to get it back to the table. And that's my number 4, Sonora.
Nice. That does sound interesting.
Yeah.
My number 3 is Flick 'em Up, Dead of Winter. It was published in 2017. It's created by Gaëtan Beaujeannot, Jonathan Gilmore, Jean-Yves Maupertuis, and Isaac Vega. And this is such a neat one because it's all 3D. Like, so you place like a cardboard pieces on standy, so it's standing straight up, and then you have like the different buildings. And you have different scenarios that you can do. So it'll open the scenarios like, okay, here are the buildings you want to place. Here's the things you put in the middle. So there's like a broken card down over here. There's a bus over there. And then you start at this area. And then there's zombies out there. So, and then you'll use the little movement, and then you kind of flick up to 2 for movement. So it'll be like, okay, well, I'm going to go here, and then you flick it again, go here. Now your guy is over there, and you're trying to avoid the zombies. And the scenario we did, like, you're trying to get to the bus to get the bus going, and you got to kill so many zombies and then try to get in. So then be like, okay, now I'm going to attack. And then there's different things. So you have the pistol, then you have like this little piece of cardboard that has like the one little bullet you slide in there, and then it just like you aim it to where you want to go, so kind of sends it straight, and then you flick it out and then try to shoot the zombies. And then you have the shotgun, that's kind of a bigger piece of cardboard that'll hold up to 4 bullets, and you flick that out, and then it'll kind of spread out a little bit and trying to shoot the zombies. And then you'll have the bat that you can utilize. So then you have this long piece that's a bat, and you're trying to flick that out, trying to hit at the zombies and stuff and make your way through. And then at some point, zombies are going to get added, and you have this tower. So you put the tower, and there are spots on the top that you'll put, kind of randomly put the zombies. And then you hit the thing that drops the top of the tower, so the zombies fall down. And depending on where they land, where they landed on, and if it hit some of those players, then you got hit by the zombies. And it was neat. It was so cool. And then just the flicking and the moving thing. Now, we had played it, and I had my mat on, and I think that kind of made it less slidey. So probably best to play right on the table. But it was an interesting one, trying to flick your guy to get to the bus and flick to the bullets to hit the zombies. And it was cool. And that's my number 3, Flick 'em Up, Dead of Winter.
I never did try this one. I did win this at a convention, but then I sold it right away because I didn't think I would be into it, but it actually sounds kind of fun. I should have maybe kept it and gave it a try. My number 3 is Mars Open Tabletop Golf, and this is made in 2018 by Dennis Hale. Now, this one is a kind of a flicking game, but you each have this cardboard golf tee. Is it? No, I guess it would be your club. Well, it's your ball, basically. But all it is this cardboard piece of a cardboard, like a really thin cardboard square, but then you bend it so that 2 of the triangle sides go down and the 2 of the other ones go up. And then, so you're trying to figure out the best way to form this ball, but it's not actually a ball, but just that's what you're going to be flicking. And you set up the hole. You like the book comes with, all these kind of setups, so you can set up an 18-hole course, but it has multiple other ones that you can use. And so you will set up the hole where you might have some obstacles in the way that you have to flick over before you get it into the hole. And the hole is always the box, but then it has a little kind of insert in it, and then a flag, and then you try to get it in this little spot. And so you will set it, you need kind of a bigger table to set up because you have to have some like kind of a distance as well. And so you're flicking this thing, trying to get it obviously in the hole right away, which usually doesn't happen, but you count your shots just like in golf, and there's certain holes that are like what you would par and whatnot. But of course, if you flick it off the table, then you have to add on a shot, like just like it would be out of bounds, and then you start from where it kind of went off and you try to flick it, and it just seems so ridiculous because you're flicking a piece of cardboard around, but it's so fun. And we've done tournaments of this one too, and set up real stupid obstacles of trying to get like over things or like on the floor behind the counter to the table kind of thing. And it's just really fun. I had looked for this one for a long time because I don't think it's in print anymore. And then I found it on eBay, and I I had ordered it, I think, at the beginning of December, and I was hoping it would come before Christmas because I wanted it to be one of my Christmas games, but it ended up coming after, so I missed out. But I think we played it maybe on Mother's Day or something, or Easter. It's so fun. And that's my number 3, Mars Open.
Sounds interesting. My number 2 is Dr. Eureka. So that was published in 2015. It was created by Roberta Fraga. And this one is so cool. So it's up to 4 players, and you have 3 beakers in front of you. And each beaker has 2 big marbly things that are the two of, like, you got 2 of each 3 colors. And then on your turn, you're going to flip a card, and it gives you kind of like an order of how you want them. So you got to go and move the balls from one beaker to the other. They can never fall out and touch the table or you're done. And you can't touch them. So you'll try to get like, okay, a blue, red, blue in this one beaker, then a green, green, and then like a red over here. So you're trying to move things around to get them in that combination. And when you reach the combination, like, Eureka! And then you grab the card and then you won that point. And then from there, you don't touch your beakers. You leave them as the order that they are. You flip the next one over. And then there's like, okay, great. So now we got to do this. And then you're moving them, trying to put the marbles on the other beakers to, okay, well, I need this in the bottom. So you get that out of it. So put that in the bottom. Like, and trying to figure out how to get them where they need to be. You do have the option, if you kind of get the right order, but it's backwards, you can flick your beaker upside down. But otherwise, if a ball goes rolling, you're eliminated from that round. You cannot drop your balls from your beakers. It's such a neat game. And it's a bit of a break because, like, oh my God, how am I going to get, like, okay. And then sometimes it'd be like, you got one marble moved, then the other person's done. It's like, how did you do this so quick? And then sometimes, like, you're done and they're like, I haven't even got my mind wrapped around this yet. And then it's just a fun one. And that's my number 2, Dr. Eureka.
Oh, that one always looks so neat. I always think, as soon as I know there's a grandchild coming, I got to get this one ready or get this one bought. It looks so fun. I should just buy it, though. It's
one of those that
sometimes.
It's one of those that looks like a great kids game and probably is, but I've yet to play it with a kid.
So I should get it then.
You should.
I will. That would be so fun. All right, that was your number 2. My number 2 is Impact, Battle of the Elements. Now, you just talked about this one that you had played recently. I know I had told you about this game, and then I told you, it's on sale here, and you're like, grab me one of them. And
I started hunting that down like instantly. We've played it quite a few times.
More than us. Yeah. It's so fun, though. It's otherwise known as Strike. Strike is another version, the first version of it, where it was just the pips on the dice, and all you're trying to do is roll dice into this little tiny arena, and then you'll roll your dice and try to get the same number so you can take them back, and you just want to have the most dice at the end. Whereas with Impact, it has little elements on them, but they all have sort of a little, not an ability, but a thing that you will do as if it comes up. You'll have to choose, if 2 of them come up at least, right? Then you have to do that action. And there might be multiple doubles in there, and there's an order of which you do them. And a lot of them are like, you got to stack your dice really quick, and whoever does it first gets to take a dice out. Or you'll have to change your dice around the table, and you might have this stack of 6 dice, and the person next to you has 1, and you have to pass your 6 on, and they give you your 1, and you're like, what? Because as soon as you're out of dice, you're out of the game. It's just a silly one. This is another one we should be playing at conventions.
It's a good
end of the night, where
Yeah.
your brain's just fried and you just need to do something silly, but it's fun. We played it, I think it was me and the kids, and my kids both liked it, but then we played it with another group and they didn't really like it, and me and the kids were like, this is fun. What are you talking about? Yeah. It was, and that, you never know. Some people just don't like fun. No,
it went over. I guess right. It went over really well when we played it yesterday. And in fact, my sister's like, "Hey, we're playing this again. Like, okay, set it back
Well,
up.
yeah, it's one of those games you don't just play one game of it.
Yeah.
You play like, okay, we got to do it again, or you'll try it with just a few of the elements, abilities, and then, you know, or just one of them or something, and then you kind of, okay, let's do one with two, and then let's add them all. Like, yeah, it's not one of those games you just play once. You play it probably at least 4 or 5 times. That's my number 2. Elements.
Nice.
Or, sorry, Impact. Battle of the Elements.
Nice. My number 1 is called Rail Pass. It was published in 2019. It was created by Ref Tom Green. And this is such an interesting co-op dexterity game. So it's a train game and it's co-op. So you have these like everybody gets a card in front of them that has 2 train lines, like so 2 tracks on it. And then you have these cubes of different color cubes, but let's say I'm the black player. I don't have any of the black cubes on my space, but you're trying to make it so that you get all the black pieces of the black cubes onto your own space. So, and then in the meantime, I might have some red, some yellow, some white, some blue, and you got to send those out so that these ones get sent to the other other station out there, so that you're trying to sort all these cubes to the right station. Now, you got 2 trains in front of you, and there's 2 different sizes. One will carry 2 cubes, one will carry 3 or 4, something like that. So, and you can load the cubes onto it, but you got to load from either the beginning of your row of cube or from the back of the row of cubes. So you got to stack from one end to or another. So you stack your train with it. And you each have 2 conductor as well. So you got this little stick that goes on the plane to show that there's a conductor and it's your color. Now your conductor cannot go further than 2 stations away. If it goes further than that, you lose that conductor. And a train cannot move if it's not manned by a conductor. And then you also, like when they're in your station, you don't have to be touching your trains. That's fine. But if they're out of your station, they need to have a conductor and you need to have your hands on it at all time. You can't let go of it, or otherwise the train is lost and it gets put into the middle. And so you're going, and then so you can send the train to the station on either side of you, or you could send the train across from you if there's a path there. But sometimes a path is blocked. So, okay, well, I can't send it to the person on my right because there's a blockage there, but I can go straight across, or I could go to the left. And so you kind of put the cubes on, and then you slide the train over and go like, choo-choo, to show that you sent it and it's ready for somebody else to pick up. But this is all real time. So everybody's doing this at the same time. And they're like, so you're waiting and you can't let go of the train until somebody else comes and grabs it. And then they move it onto their station and they can unload the cubes that's on there, as long as their hands are clear, right? Because otherwise, if you're holding on to a train over here, then you got to keep your fingers on that and do it single-handedly. And then you kind of move this out, and then now they can be like, okay, well, I'm going to put these and I'm going to send that over. And then they're sending it to the person next to them, but it's still your conductor on there. So they got to be careful not to send this conductor any further, because now you're 2 stations away. If it goes any further, the conductor quits. He doesn't like to work too far from home, right? So then they'll go like, choo-choo, and pass it to the next one. And then like, it's chaotic. It's so much fun. And like some of them, like going across, you got to go through this little tunnel. So you got to move the train to the tunnel, and they got to come and grab it on the other side of the tunnel. And like, it's just like, choo-choo. It's so neat.
I'm just looking at pictures of this on Boardgame Geek. I've never heard of this.
I played it for the first time at FallCon 32, I believe it was. And it was a blast. I had played it with Michael, because I think Michael had it. Duncan, Michelle from All the Bits was playing with us as well. Like, we had a group of people and then it's hilarious. And this is like all co-op, and you're trying to get so that all the cubes get to but you try not to lose your train. Then all of a sudden it's like, you go back and like, you didn't grab that? I let go of it. So now the train is gone. I was like, oh no. Okay. Right. And then like at the end it's like, okay, how many cubes got delivered? And then like, because I think it's time and you count, it's like, okay, well, we delivered this many, and then it was like, okay, well, this is your score, whatever, right? Like it's hilarious. It is such a fun, but I mean, like, if you don't like real-time games and you get flustered easily, you're probably not going to like this one. But I loved it, and that's Rail Pass.
That are those metal? The trains metal? They kind of look metal in this picture.
I don't remember if they're metal or if they're like a heavy-duty plastic. Or it was cool.
That's cool. I've never heard of that one. That looks really neat. Awesome. All right, my number 1 is Crokinole, made in 1876 and in yours truly, Canada. It doesn't say the designer, but we do know it originated in Canada. This game is I think, the original Canadian game. Now you have this big round wooden board and you have these round discs, and it's a flicking game, and you are trying to flick your disc into the middle if possible. But if not, you try to get it as close to the middle as you can, and then the next player is trying to flick their disc into the middle, but they have to touch yours. If you do get yours in the middle, you immediately get, I think, 20 points, and you pull it out. But so then the next person will get to try and get anywhere in the middle. But yeah, if yours is in there and the next player flicks it, and they get in like near the middle but don't touch yours, theirs is gone. So it's interesting in that way where you're not just trying to get to a certain point, you have to hit one of theirs. So hitting theirs, yours could go anywhere, right? I don't know that it's strategic that you could actually plan to get somewhere after hitting theirs, but it's so fun, and it's one of those games too that you will pull out. We play it at Christmas, just whenever we have big groups. And if it was just to sit on a table, I'm sure it would be played constantly with people, because you can't walk by a game like that and go, let's give it a try. It's so neat. And yeah, that's my number 1. Good old Crokinole.
That's a great one. I've only played it the one time because we bought it for Lee's mom because they were talking about, oh, that was such a neat game. We should find one sometime. And then we found a board, so we bought it for them for Christmas or her birthday, something like that. And then we played it when we had the kids over, and we played that one time. And it's a neat one, but yeah, it's not one that I own or have played really. So
yeah. Did you see? I saw this game set up at FallCon, and I had heard about it before, called Hamster Roll. It was, people were playing it the whole weekend.
Oh, I've never played it. I took a video of it, and it looks amazing, because you have this circle, and along the circle there's like little Ferris black
wheel almost.
Yeah, they have black little lips that kind of goes, and you all have these pieces of wood that comes in different color, different shape, and you take your turn placing it on the hamster roll, but you got to go one above or on the same level as what's been placed on either side. But then when you put it down, it would cause it to roll. And if it rolls and a piece comes down, then that piece goes in your pile. And you're trying to be the first player to get rid of all of your pieces to win the game. It looks so cool. I want it.
Yeah, I know. We should have tried it there. The other one was Junk Art I wanted to try.
Oh, yeah. I never even thought of that. I've played that once before. It's kind of an...
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I've played it at Autofest, the anime convention that happens in Calgary, and FallCon had a game room there. So and I was volunteering, and then while we were we played it real quick, and you get these little, but I mean, like, they're odd pieces, because you get, like, maybe a kind of a oval with a stick sticking out, and you're trying to pile these up, but they're not easy to pile pieces. Like, they have round edges, or they have weird things sticking out, and you're trying to it's kind of like, how is this gonna work? But yeah,
another one I haven't tried is Rhino Hero. Have you ever tried Rhino Hero?
I haven't, but you know what,
no,
I have Circus Puppies that I haven't opened, and it looks like it's a cardboard stacking thing, and you're creating these towers with these circus puppies, but I don't know. And then it has these little tiny doggy meeples in there that looks so cool. So at first I was like, oh, I'm just gonna pass this on, and I'm like, oh wait, what? And I'm looking at it, I think I want to try this. So yeah, it looks cool. But yeah, no, I've never
those
played.
ones I'd like to try.
Yeah, there's quite a few, and I haven't played. It's not the one that I kind of gravitate to the most. But it's just one that is kind of fun, simple fun. That's easy to bring out, and I think just because it's different attracts more attention, right? So it's a neat one to play, the dexterity game for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it usually will bring in even non-gamers or people who avidly dislike games. They will like dexterity games. But yeah, well, that was a good list that we had there. Next week, we are going to talk about our top 9 trick-taking / ladder climbing games. And those we find are very similar to each other. They will either be where you're taking a trick by playing cards around the table, or you're building up cards around the table. And there's so many of those now. It seems like every year, like, you know, one year maybe 5 new ones will come out, the next year there's 10, and then the next year there's 15. Like it's a very popular genre, I think, because a lot of us grew up playing, you know, the traditional trick-taking games.
Yeah.
And there's so many of those as well, like just depending where you lived. Like in down south, there's like different ones, whereas like in Canada or, you know, out east, like there's just so many different ones. So it'll be an interesting list as well. But until then, where can people find you if they want to get a hold of you, Mel?
Yeah. My Facebook page is Mel and Friends Board Game Room. You can also find me on Instagram as Mel's_boardgame_room. And my YouTube channel is Mel's Board Game Room. How about you, Carla? Where can we find you?
I'm on Instagram at Board Game Specialist, all one word, and I have a Facebook page called Red Deer Board Game Fanatics. So that will be it for this week. We will stay tuned for next week when we talk about our trick-taking ladder games. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.